The dining room of the Cross family estate had never been so quiet. My father's voice, usually booming with control, cracked through the phone. The food never came? Around the long linen-draped table, 20 stunned relatives sat awkwardly in front of empty plates. The golden centerpiece, now an ironic symbol of a celebration that wouldn't be. My Aunt Carla looked up from across the table, eyes darting. I imagined the moment realization dawned. I was 300 miles away in my Asheville apartment, leaning against my kitchen island, sipping cider. "Oh," I said smoothly. "I assumed you didn't need anything from me." Silence, heavy, stunned, awkward silence. Then came the murmurs. My mother's voice filtered faintly through the phone. What does she mean by that? Confusion mixed with panic. The same family that didn't want me at the table had no problem accepting the catering bill I'd paid weeks earlier. "I'm Melanie Cross. I'm 38, the eldest daughter turned family errand runner, therapist, and bank. Thanksgiving had always been sacred in our family. Not for the warmth, but for the performance. A glossy veneer of togetherness layered over years of favoritism and unspoken grievances. Growing up in Raleigh, I wasn't a child. I was staff. My younger siblings were adored. I managed carpool, bandaged knees, and made sure homework got turned in. When I left for college, I thought I'd finally earned a seat as an equal. I hadn't. The betrayal came a week before Thanksgiving 2024. My aunt shared a "can't wait to see everyone" message in the family group chat. I replied with a quick, "Same here, looking forward to it." A silence. Hours later, my cousin texted me privately. "Wait, are you actually coming? Your parents told everyone you weren't invited this year." My heart sank. I called my mother, confused. She danced around it, then finally said, "We're keeping it small, just immediate family." "I am immediate family," I replied, my voice tight with disbelief. She sighed. "We just thought it would be easier this way, less tension." There hadn't been any tension, unless you count me finally saying no when asked to pay for my brother's car repair, or when I didn't step in to clean up after my sister's wedding debt. I checked. Everyone else had been invited, my siblings, their spouses, even distant cousins, and yet, me? Left out. Well, I may have been excluded from the table, but they still tasted the cost of forgetting who funded the feast. Only later, after the shock wore off, did it hit me Dad had asked me to chip in for the meal. But I hadn't just chipped in. I had paid for everything. The turkey, the sides, the desserts. I'd even placed the orders myself, at Maple and Pine, the boutique butcher my mother adored, and Sweet Laurel Bakery, where she swore the pumpkin cheesecake rivaled anything on the Food Network. All of it was ordered under my name. They hadn't just forgotten me, they'd used me. I made 2 phone calls. The first to the butcher, who processed a refund in minutes. The second to the bakery, who hesitated, but ultimately relented when I forwarded the receipt. Then I waited. I knew exactly how this would unravel. Thanksgiving Day, 12:17 p.m. My phone buzzed with Dad's name. I let it ring 4 times before picking up. "The food never came," he said, his voice a strange mix of panic and confusion. I could hear the chaos behind him, murmurs, sharp whispers, my mother's sharp voice rising like steam. I tilted my head, injected just the right amount of feigned concern. "Oh, maybe check with whoever placed the order?" "You placed the order," he snapped. "Yeah? Did I?" I let the silence hang, letting it stretch just long enough to sting. "Well, I didn't think you needed anything from me." He didn't respond. An hour later, a text from my cousin painted the picture perfectly. No turkey. No desserts. Every store in Asheville and the surrounding towns closed, or picked clean. My sister had brought a new boyfriend she wanted to impress. She ended up crying in the guest bedroom. My mother locked herself in the bathroom. My father sat mute while my Uncle Ron asked loudly, "Wait, wasn't Melanie bringing the turkey?" The room had gone quiet. Then the whispering started. 3 days later. A group text from Mom. We really missed you at Thanksgiving. Hope we can put this behind us. Not an apology. A rug. Something to sweep it all under. I said nothing. Aunt Carla called a day later. A lot of us confronted your parents, she said quietly. They needed to hear it. But Mom didn't like consequences. And sure enough, by the end of the week, a new version of the story started circulating. I was unstable. Dramatic, deliberately sabotaged Thanksgiving. Dad called twice before I finally answered. I don't know what you were trying to prove, he said, tight with restrained fury, but you embarrassed your mother. I laughed, loud and sharp. Funny, I thought she didn't even want me there. His sigh was theatrical. We made a mistake, okay? But what you did was low. Lower than uninviting your own daughter after she paid for the meal? My voice rose. You should have said something. If being dramatic, he said, as if that would make me fold. It wasn't even that big of a deal. My pulse thundered in my ears. It was to me. Not a big deal? I snapped. Then why are you calling me about it, Dad? I hung up, my hands trembling so badly I nearly dropped the phone. My whole body was buzzing with a mix of rage and grief. That night, my cousin Riley texted. You officially started a war. Apparently, my mother was already spinning her version of the story, how I'd always been difficult, and how this just confirmed it. Christmas loomed like a storm cloud. I had no plans to attend, not until Aunt Carla called. She's telling everyone you're too fragile to be around family, she said carefully, that you're skipping Christmas because you can't handle conflict. And your dad, well, he's claiming he tried to fix it, but you're being stubborn. I tightened my grip on the phone until my knuckles turned pale. Oh no, they weren't going to rewrite my story. Christmas Eve, 2024. I arrived fashionably late to my parents' house, the Asheville air crisp with winter. The second I stepped inside, it was like someone scratched a needle across a record. Conversation cut off mid-sentence. My mother's expression froze. My father stopped mid-sip of his bourbon. My sister blinked like she'd seen a ghost. Hey, I said casually, pulling off my scarf with a smile. Merry Christmas. My mother found her voice. Oh, you made it. Of course, I replied sweetly. Wouldn't miss it. Then I stepped aside to reveal my surprised guest. My grandmother. Her mother. My mother's face drained of color. Years ago, they'd had an irreparable falling out. My mom had tried to erase her from our lives entirely, but I never cut contact. Grandma had been horrified when she heard about Thanksgiving, and when I asked if she wanted to come to Christmas dinner, she didn't even hesitate. Oh my, Grandma said, stepping inside with exaggerated wonder. It's been ages since I've been here. What lovely decorations, dear. My mother looked like she might faint. Dinner was tense perfection. Grandma picked up her fork, examined the stuffing, and said brightly, Oh, is this store-bought? Tastes very consistent. I bit the inside of my cheek to keep from laughing. A week later, I started getting strange messages from cousins and extended relatives. I heard there was a misunderstanding. You okay? Others were more pointed. Didn't think you had it in you to be that cruel. Aunt Carla clued me in. Your mom's telling everyone you had some kind of breakdown, she said, sighing. That you're unstable, that what you did at Christmas proved it. I let out a bitter laugh. It was unbelievable, but not surprising. If my mother had taught me anything, it was that truth is dangerous to those who depend on control. If you've ever been the black sheep at the holiday table or found strength in standing alone, don't miss what happens next. Subscribe to the channel to follow Melanie's journey as family secrets unravel and quiet revenge turns into lasting power. The realization landed hard, like a gut punch. My mother wasn't just embarrassed, she was threatened. I'd exposed her, and now she was rewriting the narrative to cast me as unstable. If she could discredit me, she wouldn't have to face the truth. She wouldn't have to be wrong. I called Grandma. She didn't sugarcoat it. Unfortunately, she sighed, your mother's been calling around saying she's worried about you, that you're not well. I let out a sharp, bitter laugh. You know that's not true, right? My dear, she said, her voice suddenly firm. I knew it wasn't true before she even opened her mouth. That night, I sat on my couch, lit only by the soft glow of my Christmas tree, and typed out a message to the family group chat. Hey everyone, just wanted to clear up some confusion. I'm doing great. No breakdowns, no drama. It's been an interesting holiday season, but I'm genuinely in a good place. Hope you all are too. Wishing everyone a happy new year. It was short, neutral, impossible to twist. The digital equivalent of smiling and waving while my mother's lies turned to ash. Then, something I didn't expect happened. My brother Ethan texted me. Hey, can we talk? We hadn't spoken in months. I called him immediately, heart pounding. His voice came through uncertain, softer than I remembered. Look, I don't agree with what Mom did. I blinked. You don't? He's really good at twisting things, he admitted. Thanksgiving felt off. But Christmas? That was when it all clicked. I stayed quiet, letting him talk. I didn't say anything, he added, because, well, you know how she gets. Yeah, I said gently. I know. He paused. I'm not saying I handled it right, but I don't think you're crazy, not even close. My throat tightened. I hadn't realized how much I needed to hear that until the tears welled up. Something had shifted. First Aunt Carla, then Grandma, now Ethan. My mother's grip was loosening. 2 weeks later, my phone rang. I nearly ignored it, but some mix of curiosity and old wounds made me answer. Hello? Her voice was cold. We need to talk, in person. About what? A pause. Then, your little stunt humiliated me. There it was. Not hurt me, not let's talk about what happened. Just humiliated me. Still about appearances. Sunday dinner, 6 o'clock, she clipped. Your father and I expect you here. And then she hung up. I almost didn't go, but Aunt Carla called. Just hear them out, she urged. You don't have to forgive them, but make them say it to your face. So on Sunday evening, I pulled up to my parents' house again. The tension hit me the moment I stepped into the dining room. It was heavy, almost physical. My dad stood stiffly near the end of the table, hands clasped too tightly. My mom sat at the head like a judge awaiting trial, arms crossed, mouth tight, eyes sharp. My sister pretended to be absorbed in her phone. My brother, Ethan, sat on the edge of his seat, glancing nervously between us all. Mom exhaled hard. Do you have any idea what you've done? I tilted my head. Which part are you mad about? Canceling the turkey? Bringing Grandma to Christmas? Or the fact that people stopped believing your version of the story? You're so dramatic, she spat. Dad stepped in, his voice low but tense. Your mother's hurt, and you've done nothing but make her look bad. She made herself look bad, I replied calmly. I just stopped covering for her. Mom's face flushed. The truth? She hissed. You mean your version of events? Because in my version, you abandoned your family, refused to let go of the past, and took revenge over a simple misunderstanding. Understanding, the word cracked through the air. You didn't invite me. You let me pay for the food, and then pretended I didn't exist. We never meant to exclude you, she snapped. We just thought it would be easier, less tension. And then you made it worse. You told people I was unstable. You tried to destroy my credibility. You embarrassed me, she shot back, in front of everyone. And then Ethan spoke. Mom, he said quietly, but with surprising firmness, you did exclude her. You told everyone she wasn't coming. You let her pay for everything. That was wrong. She turned toward him, eyes flashing. Oh, don't you start too. But Ethan didn't back down. No, you crossed the line. You always do when you feel cornered. Dad shifted uncomfortably. We should handled it differently. Mom narrowed her eyes. What does that mean? He hesitated. Maybe she has a point. The room stilled, but I wasn't done. You didn't just leave me out, I said. You tried to paint me as unstable. You called relatives and said I was having a breakdown. Why, Mom? And then she said it. Because I was embarrassed. Silence fell. She blinked, like she hadn't even realized the truth until it spilled out. I didn't know what to say when people asked. It snowballed. I didn't want to be the villain. So you made me the villain, I said quietly. She didn't answer. And beside her, for the first time in my life, I saw my father look at her like he didn't recognize the woman sitting at the head of the table. Ethan sat still, jaw clenched. Across the table, my sister. Quiet, until now. Muttered under her breath, "Wow." And just like that, the truth settled over the room like thick snow. The lies, the manipulation, the selfishness, all of it, exposed and undeniable. For the first time in my life, I saw my mother clearly, not as an untouchable matriarch, not as some all-powerful force, just a woman so terrified of being wrong that she would rather destroy her own daughter than admit it. I stood up. "I'm done," I said, steady and sure. "I don't need an apology, because I don't think you're capable of giving a real one, but I need you to understand that I'm done." My mother flinched, like I'd struck her. "Wait. No. You don't get to walk away like that," she snapped. "You did this," I said firmly. "You shut me out. And when people noticed, you rewrote the story. You made me the villain because you couldn't handle the truth." Her lips parted, but nothing came out. I turned to my father. "I appreciate that you tried, but you let it happen, and that hurt too." He didn't have a response, just looked down at his folded hands. I looked to my siblings. My sister blinked, face tight with guilt. "I should have said something sooner," she said softly. Ethan gave a quiet nod. "Me too." It didn't fix anything, but it mattered. In the weeks that followed, I created distance. Mom sent shallow texts. "Can we move past this?" I left them unread. Aunt Carla checked in regularly, her support constant. Grandma sent a handwritten letter full of warmth, telling me how proud she was that I stood up for myself. But the real surprise came from Ethan. One evening in mid-January, he texted, "Want to grab coffee?" We met at a quiet cafe in West Asheville. We ended up talking for nearly 3 hours. "I think I spent so long trying to keep the peace," he said. "I didn't realize how much damage she was doing." "Yeah," I replied, my voice low. "I get it." And in that moment, I realized I wasn't alone. Not anymore. If you've ever been the scapegoat in your own family, the one who sees the dysfunction while everyone else clings to the illusion, then you know this feeling, the hollow ache, the constant questioning, the heartbreak of being told you're the problem just for setting boundaries. You've heard it. "That never happened. You're too sensitive. Stop making everything about you." Standing up to that dynamic isn't easy. It's terrifying. But sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do isn't forgive. It's refuse to play your assigned role. The empty chair at their next Thanksgiving table, that won't be my shame. That will be my peace. And if you're still nodding along, maybe it's time you ask yourself, which tables in your life are nourishing you, and which ones are just keeping you starved for love you'll never be given. If you've ever been silenced, sidelined, or labeled for standing your ground, drop a comment. I'd love to hear your story. Support matters. Protecting your peace isn't selfish, it's necessary. Choose respect over obligation. If this resonated with you, hit subscribe. Melanie's journey might be over, but yours may just be beginning.